Saints 365 is a passion project to glorify God and honor His saints. This project is based upon the book, The Lives of the Saints by Father Alban Butler.
April 28th, St. Paul of the Cross. The 81 years of this saint's life were modeled on the passion of Jesus Christ. In his childhood, when praying in church, a heavy bench fell on his foot, but the boy took no notice of the bleeding wound and spoke of it as a rose sent from God. A few years later, the vision of a scourge with love written on its lashes assured him that his thirst for penance would be satisfied. In the hope of dying for the faith, he enlisted in a crusade against the Turks, but a voice from the tabernacle warned him that he was to serve Christ alone and that he should found a congregation in his honor. At the command of his bishop, he began while a layman to preach the Passion, and a series of crosses tried the reality of his vocation. All his first companions, save his brother, deserted him. The sovereign pontiff refused him an audience, and it was only after a delay of 17 years that the papal approbation was obtained, and the first house of the Passionists was opened at Monte Argentario, the spot on which Our Lady had pointed out. St. Paul chose as the badge of his order a heart with 3 nails, in memory of the sufferings of Jesus, but for himself he invented a more secret and durable sign. Moved by the same impulse as Blessed Henry Suso, St. Jane Francis, and other saints, he branded on his side the holy name, and its characters were found there after death. His heart beat with a supernatural palpitation, which was especially vehement on Fridays, and the heat at times was so intense as to scorch his shirt in the region of his heart. Through 50 years of incessant bodily pain, and amidst all his trials, Paul read the love of Jesus everywhere, and would cry out to the flowers and grass, "Oh, be quiet, as if they were reproaching him with ingratitude. He died whilst the Passion was being read to him, and so passed with Jesus from the cross to glory. Also celebrated on April 28th, Saint Vitalis, Martyr. Saint Vitalis was a citizen of Milan, and is said to have been the father of Saints Gervasius and Protasius. The divine providence conducted him to Ravenna, where he saw a Christian named Ursicinus, who was condemned to lose his head for his faith, standing aghast at the sight of death and seemingly ready to yield. Vitalis was extremely moved at this spectacle. He knew his double obligation of preferring the glory of God and the eternal salvation of his neighbor to his own corporal life. He therefore boldly and successfully encouraged Ursicinus to triumph over death, and after his martyrdom carried off his body and respectfully interred it. The judge, whose name was Paulinus, being informed of this, caused Vitalis to be apprehended, stretched on the rack, and after other torments to be buried alive in a place called the Palm Tree in Ravenna. His wife Valeria, returning from Ravenna to Milan, was beaten to death by peasants because she refused to join them in an idolatrous festival and riot. Reflection. We are not all called to the sacrifice of martyrdom, but we are all bound to make our lives a continued sacrifice of ourselves to God, and to perform every action in this perfect spirit of sacrifice. Thus we shall both live and die to God, perfectly resigned to His holy will in all His appointments. St. Paul of the Cross and St. Vitalis, pray for us.
Saints 365 is narrated by Rob Roller, edited by Josh Bach, and produced by Our Local Parish Productions. Funding for this project is made possible by Catholic businesses. Please go to the business directory at ourlocalparish.com to support these generous businesses. Thank you for listening. God bless.